Good morning. I'm glad that you found my channel again. Let's talk about our third topic. And this third topic took 3 attempts to get to. Anyways, let's talk about our third topic, which is a lot of people, I think, wonder about this all the time who have a little bit knowledge of astrology. Like, hey, my friend was running Mercury Mahadasha and had a great Mahadasha, all the comforts of life. But when I was running Mercury Mahadasha, my condition was not very good. And even with Saturn, I think a lot of people are afraid of Saturn. I'm running Saturn Mahadasha and it was so glorious. And my friend was running Saturn Mahadasha and he's not doing very well. So, this is a really important topic. And let's discuss this topic today and try to find out why these things happen, why two people are not running the same kind of glorious days in the same Mahadasha. Let's find out. To answer this complex question, we need to look at some fundamentals. The first one is that Mahadasha sequence is decided by the placement of moon in a specific nakshatra. So, for every person in the birth chart, moon is occupying a certain house, and in that house, certain sign, and in that sign, a certain nakshatra. The nakshatra lord of moon is the first Mahadasha for the native. So, for example, for this chart, we have been following this chart for the last classes too. Moon is occupying the 6th house in Libra sign in Vishakha Nakshatra. This Vishakha Nakshatra is owned by Jupiter. So, therefore, for this native, the first Mahadasha is of Jupiter. This is called the Vimshotri Dasha system, and it is divided into the Mahadashas are divided into 9 Mahadashas and they follow a certain order. So, when the first Mahadasha is of Jupiter, the second Mahadasha is Saturn, third is Mercury, Ketu, Venus, and so on. If your first Mahadasha is of Ketu, then your second Mahadasha is always of Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury. If your first Mahadasha is of Moon, then the second is always of Mars, Rahu. So it follows this order. Fundamental is that planets own different houses for different ascendants. This means that, for example, for a Aries ascendant, where Aries sign is falling in the first house, different resources are available for the utilization of this house's signification for this ascendant compared to another ascendant where Taurus sign is falling on the ascendant. Now, the first house signifies body, fame, self, not limited to these, there are much more. And this Aries sign in an Aries ascendant falls on the first house and is owned by Mars. While for Taurus ascendant, this first house is owned by Venus. This means that different resources are available for this house for a Aries ascendant compared to Taurus ascendant, and of course further on for other ascendants as well. Similarly, for the 7th house, for a Aries ascendant, Libra sign is falling on the house, while for Taurus it is Scorpio. Venus is the lord of Libra, while Mars is the lord of Scorpio. So, for the 7th house, where the significations are spouse, partners, the resources available are completely different for when Libra is falling here compared to Scorpio, which is very, very different energy. fundamental is that planets as lord of houses are placed differently for each individual. For example, for this Aries ascendant, the lord of the first house is placed in the 10th house with the sign Capricorn. Mars is said to be exalted in Capricorn. And for Taurus ascendant, the lord of Taurus ascendant is Venus, and it is placed in the 8th house in the sign of Sagittarius, which is said to be inimical sign for Venus. Now the 10th house shows profession, karma, livelihood, while the 8th house shows longevity, suddenness, and inheritance. By this placement of the first house lord into 10th or 8th, it has interlinked these houses. And therefore it gives another dimension of how good this ascendant is, how benefic the lord of the ascendant is. Any aspects and conjunctions on the first house or on its lord will complicate matters further. Another fundamental is that some houses and their lords are more important for benefic results. Taking example of Aries ascendant again, I have marked the houses in the chart by their popular names. The houses 1, 4, 7, 10 are called Kendra or angular houses, and the houses 1, 5, 9 are called Trikon or trine houses. Houses 3, 6, 11 are called Trishadaya, which comes from 3, Shad comes from 6, and Aya comes from 11, so 3, 6, 11. As Lagna is both a Kendra and Trikon, so this is a Trikon and this is Kendra, so it is part of both of them. Therefore, it is especially benefic. Trikon houses and their lords are considered always benefic. So we are basically talking about the lords of houses 5 and 9. And Kendra or angular houses are conditionally full benefic or less benefic. We'll talk about this when we go through some rules. And 2 and 12 houses, they can be considered neutral because their lords are said to be impressionable, and they're not exactly malefic houses. This is wealth accumulation and this is expenditure. And 8th house is considered especially malefic. There is other terminology which says that 2 and 7 houses are marakas. Maraka here is for loss of longevity. Longevity is 3 and 8, so this is loss of longevity, and so they are important. They can give malefic results. And 6, 8 and 12 have been considered dusthanas in classical text. So let's find out which Mahadasha is favorable. Let's take an example. This is the same example we have been taking from our class 1. And these rules are compiled from an article from Astrological Magazine many years ago. And I have just applied these rules on this chart. So the rule 1 states that lords of houses 1, 5, 9, we're talking about Trikon houses, bring fortune, while the lords of 3, 6, 11, Trishadaya, bring misfortune. So what we are going to do is we will identify the lords of these houses. So for this chart, the lord of first house is Venus, Taurus ascendant. For the 5th house, the sign is Virgo, and for 9th house, it is Capricorn. So for 5th lord, we have Mercury, while for the 10th lord we have Saturn. These three are going to give fortune. So we have written down fortune for them in this table. And now identifying the lords of 3, 6, 11. The lord of the third house, Cancer, is Moon. The sixth house is again Venus. This is Libra sign. And for the 11th house, 12 or Pisces, is Jupiter. So these lords are going to be malefic for this Taurus ascendant and bring misfortune. So I've also written down that information here. Totaling this information, because for Saturn it's going to give fortune, for Mercury fortune, but Venus, it is lord of first house as well as sixth house. Therefore we are going to compile this and say in totality this will give mixed fortune, and Moon, which will give misfortune, as well as Jupiter, which will give misfortune. For Moon there are waxing and waning moon, so you have to also make sure which moon we are taking. Waxing moon here will give you this result. The second rule is about Kendra Adhipati Dosha, which basically states that natural benefics such as Jupiter, Venus, or waxing moon, when owns the 4, 7, 10 houses, these houses, then it loses some beneficence. We are not going to talk about the Lagna because we already concluded that it is always benefic. So this means that when they are lord of these houses, they are less benefic, and that means that they are not as fortunate as they could be. And similarly for natural malefic such as Sun, Mars, Saturn, or Venus, waning moon, when they own 4, 7, 10, they lose some maleficence, and therefore they are not as misfortunate as they could be. Mercury is a impressionable planet. So Mercury, when conjunct with Jupiter, Venus, or waxing moon and owns 4, 7, 10, it does not produce fortune. And when it is conjunct with Sun, Mars, Saturn, or waning moon and owns 4, 7, 10, it does not give misfortune. So again, tabulating this information for this example. So we see here that the lords of 4, 7, 10 are Sun, Mars, and Saturn. They are all natural malefic planets, and by the ownership, they have become less misfortunate, right? So I have tabulated this information here. Rule 4 states that some planets become chameleons, taking on sentiments of their co-planets. These are actually the lords of 2 and 12 houses, and they undergo change based on the planet they are conjoined with. So, whatever planet they are conjoined with, they take up those sentiments, and this also applies for Rahu and Ketu. Wherever they are placed, they take on the sentiments of the Lord of the house. For this example, let's look at what's happening. The Lord of second house is Mercury, while the Lord of the 12th house is Mars. And if we look at their chameleon effect, so Mercury is placed with Venus, and therefore it is taking its sentiments, and it will give mixed fortune for this native. And Mars is placed with Saturn and Moon, so it will give a total fortune of all these qualities. And because Moon is Trishadaya Lord and Saturn has fortune, and therefore I'm saying it will be mixed fortune, because it seems that more fortune than misfortune. So I've listed it as mixed fortune tilting towards fortune. For Rahu, which is placed in the first house, Venus becomes the lord of the house, and taking on Venus sentiments, it will also give mixed fortune. And for Ketu, which is placed in eighth sign, and Mars is the lord of the house, many consider Ketu also, co-ruler of this house. So that's quite good here. It will give mixed fortune, which will be tilting towards fortune too. Rule 5 deals with Ayurbhava Lord. So Ayurbhava means longevity, Lord, and we are talking about the Lord of the 8th house. So Lord of the 8th house will always bring extreme misfortune. If this lord is also the lord of first house, which is in the case of Aries ascendant, then it can give fortune. But if the lord of eighth house is sun or moon, then it cannot give so much misfortune, because sun and moon are your also signify your father and mother, and they ideally cannot give you suffering. In today's world that can also happen though, and therefore they are considered to give mild misfortune. So for this chart example, Jupiter is the eighth lord. It is also a Trishadaya lord, so definitely this will be extremely misfortunate for the native. Now compiling all this information in one table, and if you remember that this native's moon was in Vishakha Nakshatra, so the first Mahadasha was of Jupiter, and then it followed the order that is given in classical test: Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Ketu, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu. And all the rules have been applied, and I have listed all the information that was obtained and decided on a total effect. Now, one thing that the rules don't list is the position of the Lord in different houses, and therefore I've added a more advanced view for that in this note section, and also taken that into finding out the total effect. So when we look at all this information together, take a moment, pause the video, do it for yourself, and we can see that for Saturn, which is consistently showing fortune, also showing decrease in misfortune, and as the lord of ninth and 10th, the highest trikon and the highest kendra placed in its exaltation sign in sixth house, it brings fortune. It's present in sixth house. Sixth house is a difficult house, but for a natural malefic like Saturn, this is a good placement. This just means that this native needs to serve others, and as long as they are taking care of those sixth house significations in a positive manner, the Mahadasha of Saturn would bring uh, good fortune, great fortune, if I may say. And similarly, I have listed fortunes for all the different Mahadashas here. Here you can see that the Jupiter Mahadasha also shows misfortune, as well as Moon Mahadasha shows misfortune. If you look at the notes section, then Jupiter is Lord of 8th, and it is placed in 8th, and it's also Lord of 11th, which is the Trishadaya. So this is misfortunate. And for Moon, it is Lord of third house, a Trishadaya, and is placed in another Trishadaya. Now, this is supposed to be good, because when a Lord of one Trishadaya house is placed in another one, this decreases the malefic effect, but still this will be misfortunate for the native. Some dasha here also shows fortune with some misfortune, and for sun, for example, I've just written will not cause misfortune, because according to the rules, we saw less misfortunate, and sun is placed in a friendly house, in moon's house, in the third house of courage, so it can even bring fortune for the native. And these are the dasha dates that are listed. So somewhere here, the native is running this dasha of Mercury, which is fortune with some misfortune. So you see, we can actually find out how different dashas are going to be using this information in my charts. You can do this for yourself, for your own charts, and you can make some deduction. The only part that could be a little difficult is this one, but as you will advance, you will be able to also understand what it means when a certain planet is placed in a certain sign and a house and in conjunction or aspect with another planet, and how to read it in totality.
So today we discussed a very important topic and hope that helps and that you understand why some part of your life have been difficult while the others not so much. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.